Hello everyone. Well, recently there has been a lot of talk surrounding two upcoming games which I myself have been following closely for a while now. Those games are Star Citizen and Elite Dangerous. Now it's likely you've heard of at least one of these games, probably Star Citizen, because of the huge amount of money they have gotten thanks to their crowdfunding. But to those who don't know, Star Citizen and Elite Dangerous are both crowdfunded space sims currently being developed. They even started their crowdfunding at around the same time. But Elite Dangerous was kind of overshadowed by the massive surge of attention that Star Citizen received. But regardless, they both did get the money they needed to get their development underway. So let's get this out of the way first. I've pledged money to both games and am looking forward to them a great deal, so this is not going to be a one versus the other type video, as I do believe there is plenty of room for both. What this video is about is my thoughts on both games in regards to each other and how they are going about selling and releasing their content. Basically, it's an introduction to those unsure about how to approach these games, and maybe even some helpful information to those already invested. Now, space sims are a genre we haven't seen much from in recent times, so when these games were announced, a lot of people, including myself, were very excited. But as time has passed, some controversy has emerged regarding the costs of the reward, so to speak, for backing these games. Now, the two games are going about it quite differently, so let's talk about how. So both games are releasing their content to their backers as each part is completed. At the time of recording, the stages that both games are at is that Star Citizen has entered its early alpha, launching their Arena Commander, formerly known as the dogfighting module, where you can test out your ships in a space combat arena against AI and other players, and they are currently in the process of rolling out different game modes for that module. Elite Dangerous, on the other hand, is in the middle of its beta with a good amount of content already available. You can travel around a small part of the galaxy, going to space stations and exploring asteroid belts, while doing things like trading goods and hunting pirates, and maybe even taking up some mercenary missions. Now, these games are beginning to get more interest from the general public, as alpha and beta have seen a rise in popularity in recent years, with a lot of people wanting to get involved in them. And you would think, well, that's a good thing, isn't it? Not entirely. The reason being is that alpha and beta don't really mean the same thing as they did in the past, and so people's expectations are all over the place because of that. The reason this is important here is because, from what I can tell, the controversy for these games seems to revolve around three main issues, those being having to pay to get access to the games early, the amount of money necessary for said access, and the amount of content available. Now, a lot of people view the idea of paying to get into an alpha or beta as a bad thing, and I don't disagree with them. It has become something of an excuse for an unfinished game to be released, with the developers saying we'll be involved in the development of the game, when in a lot of cases it never ends up being completed. And some people think that these games will suffer the same fate, but I feel Star Citizen and Elite Dangerous are very different in this regard. Yes, they both have very lofty goals, but they are being developed by some of the most well-known and respected people in this genre. Star Citizen is being led by Chris Roberts, the man behind the Wing Commander series, and Elite Dangerous is being led by David Braben, one of the men responsible for the Elite series, both of which were very well regarded as space sims back in the day. Now, they may not totally succeed at the goals they have set for themselves. They are very lofty, some would even say unattainable at this point in time. Nothing has ever been attempted on the scale that these two games are trying to achieve. But I feel if anyone can deliver on their promises, it will be them, because they have been making space sims before some of us were even born. But anyway, back to the paying to get access. The reason I don't mind it here is because the model that both games are using for their funding. Without the money from all the backers, it's unlikely that either of these games would have ended up being made at all. And if you want to have people invest money in something, you need to be able to offer something back. And for people to back these games, what they offered in return were things like better ships and earlier access to the game. Now, I have seen some people say that, well, they have the money they need now, right? So why can't they make it free for everyone else? That's how it was for alphas and betas in the past. You didn't have to pay to get that access. And some people were even paid to play during those stages. But really, it comes down to 3 reasons why people back then got that access. Those are, they were able to provide promotion for the game, they were connected through the company in some manner, or they were really good at testing games, and most of us don't fit any of those requirements. And yes, they could make it free now, but that wouldn't be the right thing to do. Why? Because they're going to need more money going forward, because both of these games are going to be continually being developed in the years to come. And it's also a slap in the face of everyone who has shown support up to this point by giving them money, because it's basically saying, oh well, someone else can just get into free what you've paid for because they waited. And that's not something I think they would want to do, as the public would not take kindly to it. Now, the cost problem differs a bit between the two, because they have taken different approaches to selling their game. Firstly, let's talk about Elite Dangerous, and all prices will be listed in US dollars, just so it's easier to compare. So remember to check the prices depending on your region. So, currently, to get into Elite Dangerous will set you back around $75, and that will give you access to the standard beta, which, as I said, already has a fair amount of content available. So, you might be asking, well, where did people's problems come from regarding that price? It's not much more than a new release. The problems that people have came from the asking prices of the alpha and the premium beta, which was the stage before the current beta, which were both priced at $300 and $150 each. So you can see where some people would take issue. That's a fair bit of money to put down on something on such early stages in its development. Star Citizen, on the other hand, has an entry cost of $45 for the Arena Commander Starter Package, which will give you access to all the future beta content as well as the Arena Commander. However, you will have to buy any future alpha content piece by piece, as all the alpha slots for backers have been taken. So there is an amount of unknown added cost there, but I wouldn't expect it to be much more than maybe $10 to $15, but I can't say for sure. And once again, well, that doesn't sound too bad. It's around 2/3 the price of Elite Dangerous and less than a new AAA. But also, like Elite Dangerous, there is a hidden problem that people had. While Elite Dangerous had you paying for earlier stages of access to the game, Star Citizen has you paying for more powerful ships that have ranged from $30 to $15,000 for one little ship to a whole fleet, which in my opinion is the core reason behind the huge amount of money they have been able to raise, as a lot of people seem to have a lot of spare money. Now this of course has also caused Star Citizen to have a whole pay-to-win argument surrounding it. If someone can just buy a fleet of huge and powerful ships, what chance will everyone else have? And it is a good question. The developers have said that anything able to be purchased with real money will be able to be earned in-game, so they aren't getting something that you won't be able to get also. And we've also been given an insight into how earning things will be. They have said to earn the Constellation, a ship that at the moment costs around $225, will take around 60 hours or a week, were the two rough outlines that were given. This is all subject to change and nothing is certain, but for me at least that seems pretty fair. Sure, it's a lot of money, but that's also a lot of time, so I feel it balances out. So while some people might just decide to buy the power, if it can be earned fairly and in a reasonable time compared to the money that you're paying, I don't really see it being a problem. After all, you can really only fly one ship, and if people try to fly the bigger ships that are meant to have crews alone just by buying them, they will be significantly handicapped. And I mean, that's just a benefit to all of us in our smaller ships. They're just going to be weaker. So lastly, let's talk about the content. This is going to be focused on the content available at the time of recording. So things will change in the future, but it will give you an idea of what you're getting for your money at the moment. So, with Elite Dangerous, as been said several times, there is a good amount of content here. You can currently explore around 55 star systems, doing things like trading goods, mercenary work for the military, hunting pirate bounties, and even just exploring space to see what you run into. I've had a good bit of fun with Elite Dangerous, and what I'm currently waiting for is their form of PvP so that I can battle other players, because currently the only real end goals are to explore and to earn enough money to buy better ships. But I have bought other games which have given me less entertainment and that were full releases, so keep that in mind, that while the content may be a little limited and repetitive, it is still very fun. And if you know that you like this type of game, I could recommend Elite Dangerous a look at this point in time, as it is already quite good. Star Citizen, on the other hand, doesn't really have much at the moment. The only thing released at this point is the Arena Commander. However, I have had a lot of fun with it, and new game modes are being released at a steady rate, with things like racing and multi-crew ships coming in the future. At the same time as all this is being developed, the other modules of Star Citizen, such as the Planet Side and FPS, are also in development, with more details about them hopefully being shown in the coming months. But one thing to keep in mind when comparing these games, as Star Citizen may seem lacking when compared to Elite Dangerous, is that Elite Dangerous is over halfway through their beta, and Star Citizen has just started its alpha. So comparing the two at the moment isn't really fair. Elite Dangerous is going to have naturally more done. So, if you do want to get involved in Star Citizen, but you don't care about the alpha or beta, you could just put down $30 for the Aurora MR package to basically just pre-order the game for when it's released. And I feel a lot of people have done that, so that is a path you could take. If you have the spare money, there are worse ways to spend it. Just make sure that you understand there are no guarantees that you will eventually get a game. Everything could go belly up. I doubt it will, but it is a possibility. So, while most of what I said is positive, I do have some problems with both games and how they are going about things up to this point. Star Citizen, I feel, is trying to do too much too quickly, and this is causing the development of everything to be slowed down, and this is making some people become impatient. And I also think they're selling a little too much stuff for this point in development, when still so much is subject to change, but people are buying it, so I guess that's just what the people want. And it doesn't really worry me that much, as I don't mind waiting. It's just worth mentioning because I know it does worry some people. Elite Dangerous, on the other hand, while they have content, as I said, the content can get a bit repetitive, but I have put quite a few hours into it before I even noticed that. And it's still early days and much work is yet to be done on both games. But I am pretty confident because good groundwork has been shown by both. So, in closing, let me sum it all up. Should the access of the alpha and beta of these games be free? No, because it's the money gathered from the people purchasing the early access and items that allowed the games to be made in the first place, and to change that now would be like punishing the people who supported them early on. Is the amount of money being asked for access reasonable? Well, that's something that's going to differ in opinion from person to person. But to me, Star Citizen's entry point is very reasonable. The cost of upgrading to better ships, however, does get expensive very quickly. So that's something to keep in mind, as I do feel their pricing scale might be a bit off. But as I said earlier, the low price ships will do perfectly fine, I have no doubt about that. And as long as the earning times for better ships are indeed reasonable, then there should be no problems. But I would advise everyone to keep an eye on Star Citizen in that regard, as that would be something that could be made a mistake very easily if the earning times are not reasonable. But I'm pretty sure they will be. On the other hand, I feel that the alpha and beta prices for Elite Dangerous were pretty steep, but once again, I didn't have to buy in during those stages, even though I wanted to. All I had to do was wait until it reached a price I was comfortable with, and I was not punished in any way for waiting and buying in a later time, and neither will anyone else. So you should keep that in mind with both these games. You're not being forced to buy anything. You're not punished for waiting. It's just that if you want to support now or get involved now, you can. So I hope this was helpful to all those looking to make a decision regarding either or both of these games, so they don't go into it feeling forced or with a lack of knowledge about the details surrounding them. One last thing I would say to everyone is that you don't have to like or want to support only one of these games. Yes, they might be competing with each other, but considering besides No Man's Sky and probably a few others which I haven't heard of, they pretty much stand alone in this genre, so competing isn't exactly high on the priority list for either of these games. I do believe they can both do extremely well, and a fan of one doesn't have to hate the other. If you don't like one, or maybe even both, that's fine, but please respect other people's choices. Now, there will be a follow-up video for each game coming up soon, where I go into detail with my thoughts about each, how much and what you might want to pledge for, what I think about their gameplay and the differences in the gameplay between the two, and how I think the release schedule will really go, as both games have suffered some delays. This video was simply to address some of the concerns that people have regarding broad spectrums for each title, and give my point of view on them, and also to try and help people make an informed choice. So if you want more details, those videos are coming soon in the near future. So to everyone, thanks for watching, and I hope you all have a good day.